The irony is quite rich here because the metaverse failed miserably. The whole idea that you're going to put on goggles and live in this virtual world completely flopped. However, while everyone was paying attention to that, AI creeped in and is taking over your senses in the real world. Your eyes, your ears, these powerful AI platforms that allow you to remix music, to create music as another artist like Taylor Swift or Kanye or Drake. If you haven't yet heard, the music world was flipped on its head when The Weeknd and Drake came up with a new single, Hard on Your Sleeve, and it went super viral. 600,000 Spotify streams in a matter of days, 15 million TikTok views, 275,000 views on YouTube, and it turned out it was just a fake created by AI by someone known as Ghostwriter. And Universal Music Group flipped out. They went ahead and they fired up their legal team, and all these platforms ended up pulling this down. And so I think this creates a fascinating argument of what really is copyrighted and what the intellectual property is as it relates to branding. I have a little bit of unique insights here because I have worked with a lot of artists, a lot of musicians. I've worked with a lot of copyrighted material. I actually have trademarked the Promo Ambitions name, and I wrote up my own utility patent that then passed through the USPTO. And the reason I feel like this is a really tricky topic and will be really difficult to enforce legally is because if someone is using one of these AI platforms to create novel music in the sound of another artist, like in this case, Heart on My Sleeve, The Weeknd, Drake, the cover photo showed Drake and The Weeknd. They used the name Drake and Weeknd, and so clearly they are using the likability, the brand of these artists without their permission. And so I would understand how Universal Music Group can come in and yank it down. But what happens if somebody created that song, didn't use the image of Drake or The Weeknd, just called it Dre and Weeknd AI, and just went ahead and put it out there? Would it get yanked? Because who is going to be the arbiter to say, hey, this song sounds way too much like Taylor Swift, so we're going to have to pull it down? Or this voice sounds way too much like Drake, so we're going to have to pull it down? Who is going to be the decision maker? The ultimate authority on what sounds similar to who? Is it going to be like a Simon Cowell AI? I feel like courts are going to be filled with cases like this, with a lot of legal teams trying to battle and suppress AI. But the cat is not going back into the bag. Pandora's box has been opened and we're here. So we're gonna have to navigate it in some way. I'm not too worried about the big stars, Drake, The Weeknd, or these huge music labels. They're gonna figure out how to go ahead and leverage this technology and actually make a profit off of it. I can't wait for the new Beethoven and Mozart singles that a lot of these labels are going to be putting out. That being said, though, who I really feel bad for is the little guys, the musicians, the men and women who have worked their entire lives to actually get their music on some radio stations and perform live and have an audience. What are those people going to do if someone starts making music very similar to theirs and is using their brand? Because they don't have deep pockets like these music labels or like Drake and The Weeknd, Rihanna, Taylor Swift. They don't have deep pockets like that. So they will likely not be able to take the same action as some of these artists are. And they will just have to live with the fact that their music is being replicated by artificial intelligence in a matter of minutes to hours versus weeks, months, or even years that it takes to create a song, to write a song, to produce a song, to put it out, to market the song. And so this is going to be a very tricky time for, say, singer-songwriters who already have such a hard time. There are so many limitations and bottlenecks placed on the industry that this is just going to make it worse. and they've been hammered over the pandemic. They were not able to make a living doing what they love. Live shows were gone. A lot of them lost their momentum and they had to rebuild. And I can just imagine someone working their tail off in the next few years, rebuilding their career, only for it to be zapped by artificial intelligence. And so this all begs the question of, is it something like autotune versus real voice, or even when things went electrical versus classical, like the guitar? Is this just the next phase of a dilemma in music where it's AI versus real, and you're gonna have these AI pop stars that are actually gonna have a following where it's not a real person? It's just a bunch of tech nerds going ahead and creating music in their basement, and they just have the visual of an AI performing. People are gonna follow it on social media, they're gonna vibe to the music. Because remember, a lot of us, like, think of all the music you listen to and the artists that you love. How many have you actually seen in person? Would it even matter if these people didn't exist? If this was just artificial intelligence behind the creativity and the amazingness of the music? That is what's really interesting. And I think that certain artists like Drake, who just have the same voice in all their music, they're in a little bit of trouble. But I think soulful voices like Ed Sheeran or Regina Spektor, I feel like it's going to be some time before artificial intelligence catches up in its capabilities to mimic such brilliance. So now I want to hear from you guys. What do you make of the situation? Do you really think that the record labels, the artists, the small time and the big time players out there should be concerned with what this artificial intelligence music capabilities can do? Do you think that it's really going to infringe on their ability to grow, establish a brand, and make money? Did you hear any one of these songs, whether it's the Kanye song singing to a Justin Bieber song or Heart on My Sleeve by The Weeknd and Drake? What'd you make of it? Do they really sound like the real deal? Did you vibe with the music? And lastly, I want to know if you guys want a tutorial video, because I've been messing around with some platforms that can do a lot of groovy stuff with music. Let me know if you want me to make a step-by-step tutorial on how you can go and compose your own music and borrow certain voices from these generative AI music platforms, which I feel like popping up like weeds. I can't even keep track. It seems like every single week there's another one that has some competitive advantage to one that already exists. This is definitely a really, really quickly evolving technological landscape. I'm trying my best to keep up with it. I'm personally jumping on the trend because although I am a little bit afraid of how quickly AI is evolving and what the implications are for jobs, for ethics, for political tensions, I feel like, again, the cat's out of the bag. We are not going back to the way it was pre-AI. Even if laws are put in place, there will always be ways to access these platforms and to create through these generative AIs. And so I'm jumping on the trend. Expect a lot of AI content mixed into this channel. And let me know which topics you wish for me to cover next. And I will see you all in the next video.